104.7 on the FM dial. It's Jed in the region. I'm Verly Suggs filling in for Jed this morning, and guess what? It's not in the region. It's ladies in the region this morning because it's going to be a cast of four hosting the morning show this election day coverage here in Northwest Indiana. It's probably a first that it's happened here on this station, but I myself, Verly, along with one of my co-hosts who's here right now, Mr. Roxanne Paulson, will be joined a little later by Becky Harris from the 411 newspaper and Michelle from the Post-Tribune. So I'm going to start out by saying good morning to my co-host, Roxanne.
Hey, Verly.
How are you doing this morning?
I think we should write this day down.
Definitely, it's going to day that's go down in infamy.
For middle-aged women, right?
Yeah, you know, you had to add the age. Michelle Quinn can kind of start in under being middle-aged. She's
Okay,
young.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you, me, Jackie, yeah, we got to take that moniker and put the middle age in front of us, but
Adding diversity.
adding diversity and adding not only diversity in the fact that we're women, but in the fact that maybe viewpoints and our
Absolutely.
experiences in life and everything that brings about diversity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So a lot of people know, you know, I've been in media for years, other radio stations, other networks, but they're not familiar with you, other than perhaps they might have heard you call the station a few times.
Of course I have.
And then they probably heard Jed refer to you as wild card yesterday when I was doing a shameless plug for the program thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Roxanne.
Well, I don't know if I'm a wild card as much as he was a wild card. We graduated high school together, so that tells my age. But I have just kind of resurfaced back into the region. I've always been a region rat, though. I've been away. I graduated with Jim, with Bill Baker, and from that point on, I was 3 years in Chicago, and then I've been on the East Coast ever since. I'm a beauty girl. I grew up and pretty much landed in New York for most of my career working in the beauty business. I think Jimmy, I still call him Jim, interviewed me once on the radio station. I worked for Estee Lauder companies for most of my career. I had a 17
Out on Long
career.
Island?
No, not in the exit 59.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I'm a New Yorker, girl.
Oh, yes, exit 59.
Yes.
Absolutely. I was in the, but I've been to there. I've been to the plant. And so I worked in the corporate office in New York City. So I did marketing and communications. So I do know the whole communication side, but from the other end, pushing the information out to the radio and TV stations and developing skincare products. And some you see in CVS now, and others you see in Kohl's now, and others that you see at Clinique now and stuff like that. So, and then I've kind of returned. Lived in Amsterdam for a while, working for another skincare company. I worked in Miami, and here I'm back in the region. And it's funny, I came back and I'm like, oh my God, nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
No.
So this election, May 8th, today, 2018, is probably no different from the election days you grew up knowing when you were still here living in the region.
No. You know, I don't know if I was so involved locally. You know, I was younger, but I was always involved in wanting to know about it and politically. My parents were very involved. My mother was definitely a feminist. She was a working mother before I think people were working mothers. We were kind of, I'm not going to say latchkey kids, but we were in a way. And and my mother was very involved, and my father was very involved in the local politics. So it was kind of ran through my blood, and I'm very opinionated. No doubt
Okay.
about that.
You know what? Join the club.
Yep.
845-1100 is the number to call in. You don't have to just be a woman to call in. We're going to see how many men call in as well. But we just want everyone to call in because it's election day and the polls have now been open for 11 minutes. So if you're at a polling place, even come in and call us. Share what's going on at that polling place. Is there a line as there was for one of the presidential elections a few years ago? Or is it pretty much, you know, you're the first there, or they're just, you know, drifting in? I actually voted yesterday, so I'm glad to have gotten that out of the way. I always feel really great after I did that, And I did it at the downtown Hammond Courthouse on Russell Street.
Oh, you did?
So I went in, there were maybe about 5 other people voting at the same time that I did. And A little slow. I was hoping to see a lot more people coming out to exercise their civic right to vote, but just doesn't seem like a lot of people don't aren't as thrilled with elections as I am.
I remember the first time I went and voted. I was so excited to cast my vote, and I don't feel like kids or people are that way. I mean, I could not wait to cast my vote. My person it was a presidential election. The person lost, but even the next time, I was so excited. And even this time, I voted at Wicker Park, and there was no one in there. But I still made sure that every person I voted for was the right person. If I didn't know anything about the person, I maybe didn't cast a ballot during that in that area. And I take it very seriously. I mean, and I living in other countries, I've lived in two other countries. People take it very seriously in other countries. It's
Right.
not like we're so flippant about it, and I just don't understand that.
I don't either. And I recall my first time voting. Of course, it was in New York City, and we had to vote at one of the local elementary schools, PS 201, and I was voting at the time for Mayor Lindsay. So it's just something that has always stayed with me
Yeah.
to vote. And I just can't imagine people who are sitting home right now. I did get a text message from, we have a blended family, so I have 6 kids, and they had a message going out. Today's election day, exercise your right,
Yeah.
go out and vote. So I was really happy to see that enthusiasm coming from there. But just, I don't know if people are so jaded or so apathetic with the quality of the candidates or the fact that the machines usually control everything, or what is keeping them at home today.
Well, I also think the last few elections tells them that your vote does count. I mean, and unfortunately, because of our electoral college and the way that is, I mean, my friends in across the pond, they don't understand. Like, how can you have a popular vote, but then the person doesn't win? And I try to explain that and how that was written in the Constitution and what it was there for. But even aside from that, your vote does count. Our last two presidential elections tells you that. And even some of these congressional elections where it's come down to the last, I joke, a half a vote will win, make you win. I mean, it does matter. And I hope, like this Parkland shooting will make some of these young people really rise up and make them much more empathetic and realize that, we have to change the system. I love that there's a passion there, and I hope it stays.
I do hope
it
that
stays.
passion stays, and I'm really sad that it took a shooting
Me too.
to ignite it. But I hope it has some sustainability. I know that there are other areas, I think DC being one of them, talking about lowering the age to vote. I
Yes.
don't know if that's necessarily the way to go. I think it's more important that these youth get registered to vote and that they remain informed, get informed, and vote wisely.
Why can't a school have a voting machine in their school and make early voting accessible to them?
Well,
Not
that
that
doesn't
it's
sound
hard.
like a bad idea. I know that there was criticism when some of the schools in Gary, a number of years, were taking their students to the county to vote. And I think that that still continues. If you're in a civic class,
I know.
part of the process, learning to vote, registering, learning how to use a machine.
Yeah.
There should never be criticism of that.
It's intimidating the first time you do it. Even now, it's like, oh, which button goes with it, and it's you don't know if it's right. It can be very intimidating.
Oh,
the
yeah,
first
hanging
time.
chads in Florida.
Oh God, remember that? Oh God. And I was on the other side, so I was not happy with those hanging
Oh
chads.
gosh,
Yeah.
so was I. I was, in fact, it was funny because I was in Paris at the time during that election, and that night I had voted early, of course, but just it was going back and forth, and you were
know.
like hanging on this, and it just didn't turn out the way I wanted it
I
either. But
know.
hey, that's the
process.
It's the process.
Exactly.
It doesn't always turn out the way you want it, but at least you have the opportunity to
Absolutely.
exercise a choice. And when you talk about these local elections where one vote can actually win an election,
Absolutely.
you should definitely not stay home today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think in this region, it's interesting in the area, the progressives have come in and it's changing a lot of, I went to a few of their meetings and I think the progressives, maybe not this election, maybe this election, but people are making some sly comments about them. But they're going to change a few things.
Well, let's see what happens. We have a caller, so let's go right to the phone lines. Line 1, MX, good morning.
Good morning, Burley. Good morning, girls. I want to say something. Your top 10 reasons of Mayor Tom, well, you only got up to 6, and I want to add one to your list. Mayor Tom got on WJOB Friday, and he said Dowling doesn't live in Hessville. I'm not saying I support anybody, but when you completely lie about somebody, I live 2 blocks away from the Dowlings, so that when I was a kid, that must have been a mirage. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think smear politics in the end is going to hurt Oscar for what Mayor Tom did. Mayor Tom should have took the high road and says, well, I think Oscar's the better man for the job. But to blatantly lie and say Dowling didn't live in Hessville, we've got to add that to your list of we're up to number 7 now, Burley.
Well, MX, let me ask you this, because I was not listening to the program, so I'm not aware of exactly what he said. Of course, we know the Dowlings, Katie and former Chief Dowling, do not live in Hessville at this time. Was he saying they never lived there? I mean, because because Oscar Martinez lives in St. John or Crown Point. So what does it matter where he lived or whether he lived in Hessville or not?
Well, David's dad used to take us to the basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Dowling was a real nice to all of us kids. So that must have been a mirage. But in the Dowling Facebook,
mm-hmm.
I think there's a Morton High School thing, jacket, Letterman's jacket, and it's pointing to the back.
We know they have a long history in Hammond. His grandfather was a mayor, father was a police chief. So, I mean, you have a park named right after the family. So to even be critical of where he lives, what does that matter where he lives? He's running for a county office.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No one cares.
Well, that's the part of free speech that Mayor Tom doesn't listen. So if it's like free speech, the First Amendment. You can live where you want to live, but I see here Mayor Tom doesn't appreciate that you want to move somewhere else. So, he's kind of offending the First Amendment of free speech and where you want to live. Free speech is where you want to live. So I'll let you go, but that really bothered me that Mayor Tom would do that instead of just saying, Oscars can do this and this, but to make up stuff, I think, first of all, he's going to have to go to confession after this, what he said, and he should go to confession. And Lefty it's Father Lefty. It's going to be a meme soon that
Well, I saw your previous one with Father Lefty. That was a long stretch. Putting that collar around Lefty was a bit of a stretch.
Well, Mayor Tom has to go to Father Lefty and confess his sins of lying about on the radio every Friday morning. It's unbelievable that you could sit there and lie on the radio.
Okay, thank you, MX. Appreciate your call.
Get out and vote. Huh?
All right, we want to remind our listeners, our viewers out there, because we do have viewers as we stream on Facebook Live and on the TuneIn app and, of course, through your radios, that there is a delay on 8094 going westbound. You have a FedEx truck that has basically is on its side. I think one lane is only open. It's a hazmat situation. So if you have an alternate route, please take it. If you don't, get on 65, go down 30. If you're heading down 65, then you can always get off at Ridge Road. Go take Ridge Road. I took it all the way to Klein Avenue. And also you can take 25th Avenue in Gary all the way down, even into Hammond. So there are alternatives to getting here this morning. Any thought about that? Does it matter to you where the candidate you support lives when they're voting, when you're running for a county-wide position?
No, I could care less. I mean, why would that even be an issue?
It phases me very little.
Yeah.
you
I mean, I think that's where people are fed up with it. And, if they lie and say, hey, I lived here or there, I mean, even if he thought, I mean, as a kid, if I thought I did grow up in Hessville, but maybe now it's been earmarked and that it's changed and maybe it's not called Hessville, especially like Chicago, the neighborhoods change.
It's still Hessville.
Yeah, exactly. But like, who cares?
Right. Exactly. Who cares? I can understand hometown pride. Like if you're supporting a candidate who lives in your town, say, oh, he lives in Gary, I'm supporting him because I'm happy to see someone from my community who's qualified
Right.
running. East Chicago pride or wherever your
Right.
pride might be. But, Donald Trump was a New Yorker and New Yorkers didn't vote for him. So it doesn't
Overwhelmingly.
matter
Right.
where you live. You
Right.
run for the office. You have the right to run for the office, just like us here on
Right.
the radio this morning. It doesn't matter where we live. We're talking about issues that affect everyone. And so the fact that I live in Maryville, yeah, I could talk about East Chicago, Hammond, Gary, Munster. It doesn't matter. I'm here from the media with my perspective. But even if I wasn't on the media, anyone who calls this station, no matter where they live, has the right to call with their opinion.
Well, and not to mention the way we are here, where you go, one block, and I live in Munster, but like right over the bridge. So Hammond really does affect me because I can go over that bridge during the flood. It affected us. So Hammond can affect me. So I
Right.
do have a right to that opinion. I mean, first of all, I have a right to any opinion, but it can affect you. So in some ways, you do have that. It. Even if you're voting, you can't vote for somebody in Hammond. That person running, you may want to vote for them, but you can't.
Right,
Well,
but you can support them. You
yeah,
can give
exactly,
financial donations.
exactly.
You can volunteer your time.
Exactly.
So even if there's a candidate out there that doesn't live in your district, you can still give them
Absolutely.
support. And that's the great thing about the
Right.
society we live in, this democracy that we live in.
Right.
You have rights and you can exercise them. Let's go right to the phone lines on line one. I see it flashing, but I'm not sure who it is. So, Lefty. Okay, Lefty. Good morning, Lefty. You're on the air.
Good morning,
Father
girl.
Lefty.
Hey, what did you think? Did you guys read the paper about that Jack Whiteman getting 8 years?
Well, Ryan touched on that this morning. Between the 5:30 and 6 o'clock hour, he gave a news update. So share with us your thoughts regarding this. And
Well,
this is, go ahead.
Christmas, MX had a Christmas party at Freddy's Steakhouse, and there was this paper that was like 3 or 4 sheets long, and it had all these different businesses listed under Myers Castle. And that guy, Jackman, he had a business under there, and it was called Steels Incorporated. Who names a business Steels Incorporated?
Was it Steels or Skills?
No, Steels. Like you're stealing?
Oh, you got to be kidding.
No, Steels Incorporated, and the address for the company was Myers Castle's address. So that time that Mad Matt called in WJOB and said something about Myers Castle getting raided, maybe that was true then, what happened there. Because it seems like there was like 27 LLCs listed under that Myers Castle's address of what they had.
Well,
So this is going to be interesting what's going on here.
so we know he's taken a plea, and he's got, he got 8 years, right?
Yes.
So
hopefully-
that's quite a bit of time when you take a plea. So I wonder what went along with that plea. Who else will get
If-
thrown under that bus?
if it's $4 million in fine or restitution, that he could have been looking at 30-40 year sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what he's going to cooperate with.
Definitely. So have you
But-
voted yet, Lefty?
No, I'm going as soon as I get done. I'm going to go around noontime. But there was like Kevin Smith had like 7 or 8 LLCs under that address.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not familiar with what Kevin actually has going on. He's a practicing lawyer, attorney for the city, and he's had his hands in a lot of pots. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this.
I can remember when Mad Mac asked him about the MX asked him about the LLCs, and he got real defensive with MX. Why are you getting into my personal business? If anybody wants to go, let them just go and check it out.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that, Lefty.
All right, you girls have a good one.
You too. Thanks for calling in, sharing with that.
All
We
right.
got a few text messages out here. Let's see. It says, "What's up, Verly? Keep up the great radio. Peace." Jake says, "Doesn't Oscar live in St. John?" I'm not sure. I thought I heard that. Yeah, I thought he lived in St. John too. And they were talking about the hazmat spill, that it's Freon is a hazmat spill. And let's go to the phone lines. We have Dave from Gary. And
God,
on line 3. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Big Cat. He wants us to do Big
Oh,
All
Cat.
right.
good
So I'm
morning,
not sure
Verly.
about what that big cat meant. So he says big cat
Oh,
voting at Morton.
That's my nickname, Verly. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, big cat.
Yes. My name's Paul. I live in Hessville.
Oh, I am
That's,
so
Morton
sorry. I
Elementary.
didn't know what that
And-
meant. I kept looking at that. I don't know what
No,
big.
that's my nickname. That's my labor name. I'm retired out of Local 41.
Oh, I
I'm
love
trying
that
to
big
vote
cat.
at Morton Elementary, and the machines are down.
You're kidding.
They've already turned like. No, been 20 minutes. I've been sitting here since 6 a.m.
Oh, you're
And then
kidding.
people have to go to work. No, they got the police here with some election guy trying to fix the machines. There's already like 20 people been turned away.
Oh no, and they
And
left without voting.
Yeah, because they have to go to work.
So are they offering them provisional ballots? They
I
should
don't
be
know.
doing
I'm
that.
Sitting outside. I'm sitting outside right now because they got a guy in there working on the machines. But this is 514. It's 5/14 Hessville, which is Morton Elementary,
Uh huh.
5th District, 14th Precinct. Every year, we go through our machines breakdown. We have the same people that. It's sad because I'm always trying to vote early in the morning.
You should
You know?
go in and ask for a provisional ballot.
Yes.
Well,
Well, you're
I'm
retired.
sitting
You can hang
outside
around.
Right now. I'm talking to Hammond Police right now, sitting outside. Well, I don't know if they're talking to me. They think they're getting mad at
You know,
me.
because,
But,
I get it. You get trained as an inspector, and, it's a 2-hour training. It's not like you know everything about it. But they have.
well, I don't. What do they have? 2 machines here. We have 2 machines here, and both of them ain't working. You know?
Yeah,
So,
that's not right.
I
They
don't
need
know.
to
I
make
was
some
calling
type of
hopefully
alternative
that,
arrangement.
Somebody could hear that our machines ain't working, and they could, they got somebody in there trying to fix it, but I don't. I mean, I'm a retired laborer. I don't know nothing about these machines, but they got somebody here trying to fix them. But we go through this problem every primary and election. My family always votes every
Yeah,
primary and
I
election,
think-
and the rest of the family ain't coming down because they told me. He says, "Oh, the machines will be broke down. We'll see you at breakfast."
Oh, so they didn't want to come to. They're going to wait.
They know because we go through this every time.
So they're going to wait till they get fixed, and then they're going to come down and vote, right?
Well, they're going to go. They're going to be here probably. We're supposed to meet for breakfast at 7. So, but I always, I was going to go to the YMCA and try to do a few swim laps and vote, and then go to breakfast. But I'm sitting outside waiting. So I'm going to see how long they're down for.
Well, you know what? You could go in and ask for a provisional ballot because they have those. It's basically a write-in ballot.
Yeah.
And-
Okay, hold on one second. I'm on the phone with Michelle Feynman right now from the election board, and we're discussing this. So go ahead and continue on and see
Okay.
what she's going to give you as an
All right.
alternative.
Yeah,
choice.
she's going to, Verly's trying to get somebody from the election board, Big Cat, and she's getting them on so that they can get somebody out there for you and get it done.
Okay, but they do. The police did. They drove somebody here, and he's trying to fix the machine.
Yeah, but
So I don't know. Okay.
well,
I'm
what
just,
what she's doing is getting somebody from the election board so that they can get somebody out there or call them and make sure that they at least pass out provisional ballots. Because what we don't want is somebody, like you said, 20 people walking away and not voting.
I counted at least 15 that left already.
Okay, and
Some
you
said they're coming back, but some said they had to go to work.
right, and then we close at 6
And-
o'clock. So they may, if they're in Chicago, they can't come back, or if they get off
Yeah.
at 5, they were,
Hang on, let me see if. Hang on, somebody's walking. Sir, did they fix the machines yet? Not yet. Okay, sir. Thank you. No, someone else just walked out. And
Oh.
they're leaving. Yeah. So, but I know like a lot of the construction guys, because good right now, especially with the road work popping. These guys are working 14 hours.
I
and
know.
Stuff, and they try to get their vote in before the shift.
Oh shoot.
Because
because I know for a fact that labor's we're like empty right now. These guys are working long hours.
Right.
Okay, Big Cat. I just got off the phone with Michelle Feynman. She is the director of the election board. She says if both machines are not working, mechanics are there working on the machine, you can now use an emergency ballot. So no one should have been sent away. The emergency ballot, you go in there, show your ID. The workers there can use that iPad and check, your information. The emergency ballot has to be initialed by the worker. So there should be 2 initials on that emergency ballot in order for it to be valid. So if you don't want to wait around until it's fixed.
Somebody just get the sign over. He must be pretty mad because they must have turned him away.
Well, they shouldn't be turning anyone away. They should be utilizing the emergency ballots right now. Not the provisional, but the emergency ballot. Whenever the machines are down, and both machines are down, as I told her, then they should be using emergency ballots.
Is she going to call there and tell them
She is going to call them as well to make sure that they are doing this.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I only live I live right here by Purdue. I'm gonna go to my dad's house, and I'm gonna come back in a half an hour. I'm gonna see if, you know what? I'll text you if the machines are still down.
Text us or call us back and let us know.
Please do. And
I just know one gentleman. He's mad. I see him walking down the street here.
Oh no!
Oh my God! So they just turned him away.
Yeah, they shouldn't be turning anyone away.
He's an old
Not at all.
in the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Thank you, Big Cat. Appreciate your call this morning.
Keep us posted.
All right, we're going to go to Dave from Gary. Good morning, Dave.
Hi, Burley. I believe in regards to an emergency provisional ballot, the poll worker cannot offer that to you. You have to request it.
Well, Michelle is letting them know that they should be offering that since both machines are not working.
Well, that's
absolutely.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What person would know that? I wouldn't know that, and I'm an educated.
That's not one of the things, and everyone should be taught that in regards to provisional ballot and what a provisional ballot actually means. It doesn't necessarily mean your vote is being counted. Now,
but this is not a provisional, Dave. This is not a provisional ballot. I talked to Michelle about that to make sure there is a differentiation between the two. She said this is an actual emergency ballot when the machines are not working and both machines are not working. And she was unaware that both machines were down at this location. So now she is aware, and she's going to follow up with that.
Well, and it's interesting what you're saying. As a voter, I have to ask for it. That's ridiculous because I'm an educated voter. Would you know, Verly, that you have to ask for that? I would. Well, first of all, I
wouldn't know to ask for something.
Me too. I would say I'm not leaving here, and this is ridiculous.
Right.
Get me the supervisor or the inspector. But still,
I just call Michelle.
And the word provisional is,
and I wouldn't leave.
Means, emergency is different. If there's a power failure or something like that.
Yeah, this is considered an emergency.
I feel, your emergency ballot would count.
Right.
But a provisional doesn't necessarily mean your vote is being counted.
Well, and the thing about a provisional, if you didn't have your license, if you didn't have any identification, then you can use a provisional, and then you still have to follow up on that.
Yes, you do. You have to follow up to make sure you're counted, or will not be counted unless there's a tie. Then they open the provisional ballot. But I just left the 24th and 25th in Miller, which is the first district, and there was a line. So that was, and both machines, the 24th and 25th is together in the old fire station, and there was a line in both, which was, I was surprised coming down Randolph, and I saw a ton of cars. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. So I was very pleasantly surprised, and the poll workers were quick and courteous and super nice, and it was a great experience. My first time voting in Gary, so it went really well. And
well, you have a tight race over there, Dave. You have a tight race for that state representative race with Jessica Renslow and Reagan Hatcher.
Yes, that's
the big race over there.
To watch right now.
Yes,
that's the big battle to watch, and it's fun. And then the Calumet Township Advisory Board is stacked. I mean, there's a lot of candidates.
Yes,
so
17.
You just take your time. It's about 5 pages.
Whoa!
And it zipped right through, and it was a good experience. And I just can't be happier how the poll workers and how everything went. Just
Awesome.
So let me
pleasantly
ask you this,
surprised.
because I know you were a longtime precinct, well, not long time, but recent precinct committee person, and now you're in a new locale.
Mhm.
Did you run for precinct committeeman?
I did not. I am reaching out. You know, Furley, you know how Gary works.
I know how
You know,
Gary works.
I just can't come in. I just can't come in stomping my feet. And
Yeah, you got to talk to Mr.
expecting things.
Bullock. Do you know him?
I have. What a nice guy.
Yes.
But you know, I would prefer to take my time and learn, and maybe start off as a vice, and work my way up from there. Even
Okay.
at 54, I don't mean start. I don't.
Well, definitely,
Again,
he's the one to talk to. Of course, get acquainted with Andre and Mr. Cherish and all the ones over there who run that district.
Yeah, and Jerome has just done an amazing job.
as the city chairman for Gary, Jerome
As the
Prince.
city chair, wow, he's just I just can't say enough about what he's done in
That's
in a
great to
relative
hear.
short time. But hey, I'm gonna let everyone else talk. It's a beautiful day. There's absolutely no reason not to get out and vote today.
I know.
Obviously, it's unfortunate with that precinct in Hessville, but they'll get them fixed. And Fifth Avenue, really, because of 8094 being shut down with the accident, it's all the east-west streets are
All the
heavy.
trucks. Okay. And let me
Yeah,
ask you
they're
about that.
heavy.
Since you're affiliated with FedEx, of course,
Right.
what about this? They're saying that it might be a hazmat incident going on as well.
It's probably 2.2, which is it's a compressed gas. It's a non-flammable compressed gas. Nevertheless, it falls under the category of hazmat. Anything any sort of inert gas, right, is considered hazmat. Any sort of compressed gas. So I'm sure if it's a freon, if it is freon, it's non-flammable. But nevertheless, since it's compressed, it is hazmat, and they have to be very careful. Especially, with any fire and any compressed gas, you always have that fear of combustion. So,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
they have to be
It's
careful.
clear.
All right.
It's
All right. It's
cleared
all
up.
cleared up. We just got that message from Ryan, our producer. So it has cleared up now. So thank goodness.
Excellent.
Maybe
That was at
Fifth
Burr Street- that
Avenue
was at
will
Burr
clear
Street.
up.
That was at Burr Street westbound?
Yes. Burr Street westbound.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your call this morning. You're listening to WJOB AM 1230 on your radio dial, 104.7 on the FM dial. It's JED in the region. However, it's ladies in the region this morning with myself, Burley Suggs, and of course my co-host right now is Roxanne Paulson. We're going to take a break and then we'll be back to continue our election morning coverage here on WJOB Radio.
Richard Ligon, a retired military colonel and retired federal law enforcer, is running for Lake County Sheriff. With Richard Ligon as sheriff, when Lake County police arrive at any crime scene, everyone will know that the professionals have arrived and there's no escape. It's time for Lake County to be known as a great region all across this nation, and together, casting our vote for Richard Ligon, it happens. If you want your families to have the best police protection, attract the best jobs, the best schools, lowered crime and increased conviction rates for criminals because it's done right, you need the right sheriff, Richard Ligon, a proven leader. The choice is quite clear. Vote Richard Ligon, the choice for this time. He'll keep Lake County families safe.
Hi, I'm Richard Ligon, a retired military colonel and a highly trained federal law enforcement officer. I am a candidate for Lake County Sheriff, and I want your vote on May the 8th. I approve this message.
This ad is paid for by the Committee to Elect Richard Ligon.
Elections matter, qualifications matter, integrity and honesty matters, and most of all, experience matters. The Honorable Lorenzo Arredondo possesses all of these qualities. Make a wise decision. Vote for Arredondo for clerk on May 8th. Arredondo for clerk. Honest, trustworthy, dependable, and experienced. And there's no substitute for experience.
My name is Lorenzo Arredondo, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Arredondo for clerk.
Hi, it's Mara Candelaria Reardon, your 12th District State Representative. The people you trust most, firefighters, policemen, teachers, and farmers, have all endorsed me to continue doing the people's work because they know that I will make sure their voices are heard at the State House. I humbly ask you to join them and vote Mara Candelaria Reardon for 12th District State Representative. Paid for by citizens for Mara Candelaria Reardon.
Jedi's Garden Family Restaurant, located at the corner of Klein and Ridge, is Griffith's locally owned family restaurant with a down-home feel and made-from-scratch favorites you will love. Open daily from 5 a.m. to midnight, Jedi's has you covered with breakfast omelets, salads, stir-fry, seafood, and steak sandwiches. In addition to our award-winning lemon rice soup, 4 additional soups are served daily. Along with our recently expanded spirits menu, Mondays are half-price margaritas and Wednesdays are $1 off domestics. Mention WJOB for 20% off your order. We'll see you at Jedi's at the corner of Klein and Ridge.
Is Indiana better off than it was 40 years ago? I'm Father Mark Kurowski, a Democrat running for state senate. It's time for a new direction in Indiana. It's time for a state senator who fights for regular Hoosiers, fully funded and safe schools, for union labor, for roads and bridges, for a foster care system that works. We have the money in the rainy day fund, and it's pouring down. If you think it's time for a state senator who will fight for you, then vote Mark Kurowski for state senate on May 8th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Kurowski.
Welcome back to JOB in the morning, 104.7 on the FM dial and 1230 on the AM dial. We're streaming live on Facebook, and you can tune in to the TuneIn app. So there's lots of ways that you can hear us this morning.
Our beautiful voices.
Yeah, no. And, of course, you can give us a call and weigh in on what we're discussing or anything that's on your mind by dialing 21. No one dials anymore. So by pushing the buttons for 219-845-1100, or if you're like most people, you have us on speed dial. And even though JED is not here, he's, of course, in New York City attending a conference, finding more ways to make WJOB the premier radio station. Well, he'll be back maybe next week. Because once you get to New York, whoever wants to leave, you know that. You live there.
Well, after 18 years, trust me, you want to leave. You get tired of living in a little box, as you know.
Yes, I wonder sometimes how we live that way, but, you know, we all grew up happy, and we loved
absolutely. I was, you know, it was the Sex and the City days. I lived them and loved them in those high heels.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, can we just tell everybody who's at Morton, if they're voting at, was it Morton High School?
Yes.
That if the machines are down, you should ask for an emergency ballot. And it has to be initialed by 2 of the people there or 2 of the supervisors.
Right. It's supposed to have, I think, your initials and the person working there, but there has to be 2 initials on there for it to be valid. So they'll let you know which 2 initials have to be on there. Do not leave without doing that and making sure those initials are on there.
And if they say something about it, just ask for the inspector and get that done. Don't leave without voting. You should ask for an emergency ballot.
And we have to thank Michelle Quinn because, you know, she's right on it. You know, she's probably been there pretty much all morning, probably stayed overnight maybe.
Exactly.
Just to make sure that this election goes off without a hitch. And we want to make sure that if you're having problems out there, you give us a call, 845-1100. We'll do what we can to make sure that you're able to vote. Also, we do have the polling places. If you need any information of that, talk about some of these races and the candidates that are running. As Dave from Gary, who just voted, talked about, you know, the Calumet Township race. And, I mean, the board race is going to be a very contentious race. But also, you have the, you know, the members who are running as board members.
Right.
The trustee race is going to be a very contentious race over there as well. Not the same over here in North Township.
Right. Oh, yeah, North Township's, it's locked down.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. So starting with one of the races that is getting national attention is the Senate race.
Yes, the GOP.
The GOP Senate race. We know on the Democratic side, it's just Senator Joe Donnelly. He's unopposed. But when you start looking at the GOP ticket, there's 3 men who are fighting for that, and they are fighting with deadly force to be the winner. Now, what really always interests me is when you fight no holds barred, and then you have to figure out that you're going to support this person in November. That's going to be something because a lot of stones have been tossed.
You mean if I was a voter supporting them?
No, meaning if you have Todd Rokita, Messenger, and Braun all battling each other right now, and only one of them is going to win on that GOP side. When November comes, they're going to have to come together and support their candidate.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you take back all the things you say?
Well, I guess that's where politics is hard. I'm a Capricorn, and once I say something, I hold a grudge. Once I'm very loyal, but once I turn, that's it. It's very hard to unturn.
Really?
So I don't know. That's politics, though. They learn, and it's during the election, and you just go with it. But why does it always have to be that way? I don't get it.
Why does it have to be so contentious?
Yeah.
Why can't you stick to the facts? And I guess they're all trying to. I think this has taken place across the country because here in Indiana is not the only election. There are other elections that are taking place. And, this is Morton Elementary School.
Yeah.
We just want to let our listeners know it's not Morton High School. It's Morton Elementary School where they're having the problems with the voting machines. But when you watch, even with the presidential primary, and you saw how they were battling each other, and then they all came together, some of them reluctantly, but to put their support behind President Trump, who ended up winning. He was not President Trump at the time. So these gentlemen, everybody wants to be more Trumpian than the other.
Oh, it's amazing to me. I mean, and they're all, and what's interesting is once one of them wins, I wonder how, I think in this state, they will be Trumpian because it's such a red state and because of the Pence ticket. Or I guess I would love to hear from somebody who's going to support them. Will they align with Trump or will they align with Pence in this state?
Well, I think that's one and the same.
It is, but there's been a lot of races where they're not aligning with Trump and they're saying it's hurt them in the last few races, at least, Senate races.
Right.
So I don't know.
Because what we know that if Trump had not been selected to be the vice president, that he was going to have a battle ahead. Pence rather.
Yes.
Pence was going to have a battle ahead. Now, who knows? He might have won against Greg or not. But here comes Holcomb, whole different guy, and he ended up winning.
Yep.
So it'll be very interesting to see the outcome in this. It'll be interesting to see the outcome in these other races across the country to see whether or not aligning yourself with the president will help or hurt you. And then in the fall, will it help you or hurt you?
I don't know. From a women's rights standpoint, I think that Indiana's got a ways to go. And I think Pence we've got a lot of leftover stuff with Pence still from a women's rights issue, working with Planned Parenthood and those kind of things. There's a lot of leftover. So I think Pence has still infiltrated a lot of that backwardsness in Indiana. So I think Pence will come in and still play with the Rakitas, the Messners, and all, whoever wins here.
But he was invisible during this campaign, wasn't he?
And Trump was.
Yes.
It's
but
very
the only
interesting.
thing that came from the Trump camp was do not use signage with saying that it was an endorsement from me. And that went toward Rakita, who was having signs, basically claiming that he was endorsed.
I'm surprised. I think they only want to endorse the winner. That's why.
Yeah.
Because did you
and
see
that's a smart way to go.
Trump just came out against Blankenship.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,
this coal mine guy who served time in prison, even though it was a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And now he's coming out saying that he's more Trump than Trump.
Yeah. And said, look at what happened with Roy Moore. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
People don't care. I mean, the lies have gotten so bad that nobody even cares. It's like, who cares if they lie?
I agree. They say that, and that's sad. It really is truly sad. But let's go on to other elections that are taking place. Of course, here locally, we have our representative for District 1, state U.S. Congressman Pete Wiskowski. He has a couple of people running against him.
Mark Kurowski.
And also Antonio Daggett.
Yep.
So that's going to be very interesting to see.
No, Mark Kurowski's not running against Pete. I'm sorry, that's Frank Mervan.
Yes. So we have Antonio Daggett running against him and Larry Shoup.
Yes.
Okay. So those are the two running against. They're both residents of Hammond. No, let's see. Shoup is of Chesterton. And, of course, Wiskowski now lives in Gary.
Yes.
So
I give anybody credit running against Pete.
Yeah, because, he's entrenched.
He's entrenched. He's moderate. He's likable. And And I guess my feeling is on Pete, the others haven't come forward, and Pete, you know, sometimes I'm like, get them all out of here. They've been in too long. And if we turn the House, you know, I mean, you and I are both liberal, but if we turn the House...
Am I liberal? I thought I was more moderate.
Well, it depends on my issue. Am I liberal or am I... It depends on the issue what I am, but Pete will have just such power.
Yes.
And I think he's done a lot for Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, I think he's hard to beat. I think he's been very supportive of the steel industry, very supportive of Gary, the airport expansion. Now, his only problem, and there are a lot of detractors, is the South Shore expansion.
Yes.
And that is where the whole group comes in that's anti-Pete.
Yes.
I mean, they refer to him as Uncle Pete and, you know, just all kinds of rhetoric against him just because of something, to me, that's very progressive.
I think it's... I don't get why they don't like it. I think it's, quite frankly, you know, a 7-year-old would say you can't use that word. I think it's stupid. We need it. Yeah. And they're going to see it once it's there.
Yes, I think so. It's just like any type of progress, any type of change. There were always people who were against change, and if we had those people controlling everything, then we would still be in the Stone Ages.
Exactly. We'd be on horse and buggy.
Yes. So now let's go over to some of our state races, and we have State Senate District 1. Of course, that's Frank Mervan Jr. He's being challenged by Mark Kurowski, who's actually a priest.
Yes. I think he's a minister.
A minister, okay.
Yeah.
I know it's not the Catholic Church, but it's a different type of Orthodox or some type of church. All right, so he's a minister. And then you have Christopher Kukuch.
I tried to find some stuff out about him. I couldn't find anything out about him.
Interesting. Well, Frank Mervan's been in there a number of years. In fact, he served years there, and then he was out for one term, and then he was back in again. So he's been very effective in a lot of things. He's the one that spearheaded that these elected officials, I know during East Chicago and the sidewalk fiasco, that these elected officials could no longer, once they were found guilty, stay in office until sentencing.
Right.
I think that was a great thing he's done.
And Mark Kurowski, my biggest issue as a woman is he's pro-life.
Okay.
I can't, as a Democrat, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't, you know, everybody can have their belief, but not democratic principles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem if somebody's pro-life. I think, you know, that the fairness is pro-choice. It's very difficult for me to understand men having any choice in what a woman does with their body.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah.
He can be whatever he wants, but don't tell me what to do.
Okay, sounds good. All right, moving on to Senate District 6. That's Ryan Farah, and that's in DeMont, unopposed on the Democratic side. So it doesn't really matter as far as in November if they're opposed or not, because right now, whoever is the candidate is going to win if they're unopposed, and the same on the Republican side. When you get to District 1, state representative, there's only one candidate running for that race. Linda Lawson has retired. And so that's Carolyn Jackson. She's unopposed. And so she, with her one vote, will be the winner. Unless they throw someone in the general election, then she can say she's
nobody
going
else
to
went up for that.
Indy. Well, the thing about the race, it was pretty much decided.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of things, it was decided. They had one individual they wanted to push, and that individual, she was not interested. And Carolyn has run for office before. She's been very involved in the community. And so Linda Lawson put her support behind her, came from the mayor as well, and she became the chosen one.
Yeah.
So not that she hasn't worked and continued to work during this election period, she'll be the winner.
Yeah.
Now, in other races, when you get to District 2, that's basically East Chicago and Gary. You have Earl Harris Jr.
Yep.
He's being opposed by Jason Reeves and Rosa Maria Rodriguez.
Yes.
So the legacy of Earl Harris Jr. is his mom and his dad, and it's long, you know, family tradition holding that office.
Which I don't think you should go on the legacy, but it means that you grew up in a civic household. You know, you know, like you and I said, we grew up appreciating to vote, and we grew up, you know, believing in that. So, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be qualified.
Right.
But I've met Earl. I know Earl. I mean, I'm not involved in that. that area, so I don't know as much about the candidates, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I know them both. I know, well, I don't know the Reeves, but I do know Rosa Maria, and of course I know Earl, and I know from Earl, as he's been in office, what he's been able to do, and
Right.
he's been able to actually work across lines, which is to me very important for anyone
Absolutely.
going downstate, because you know that if you're a Democrat, you're in the minority.
Exactly.
So
Once
in
you
order,
get downstate,
right?
yeah.
So you're wasting time. You're wasting my time if you're down there and you're putting your feet in the in the cement and not moving.
Right.
And so I appreciate that he's doing that. Rosa has been involved in the unions for a number of years, worked with Middle Still. And so I know she's a strong advocate, been very vocal on a lot of issues that have taken place around the community. So we'll see what happens in that race. Now, when you get to District 3, that was the race we talked about with
Right.
Dave. And that's where you have this is an open seat. Charlie Brown held that position
Yes.
for 30-some years. That's another subject.
Oh,
but
yeah. It sure is.
yeah, really. But you have Jessica Renslow and Reagan Hatcher. So that's going to be real interesting because Reagan Hatcher has the name recognition.
Right.
But Jessica Renslow also has the track record.
Yep.
She's out there working in the community. She's a community organizer, community builder, and she has gotten a lot of support in that Miller area.
Yeah, and she's smart.
Yeah.
She is smart and got it together, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough one because you're dealing with two very smart ladies. Of course, Reagan's a lawyer, and she's already an elected official. So she's already run races before. She was on the city council in Gary. She left to run for mayor, then ended up running again as a city council person. So she's a city councilwoman at large in Gary. So that election is basically going to be a toss-up.
I hate when we have two women running against each other
Yeah.
because we have that in 12 too. But you know, it's if that's where they live. This is where if that's where they live, that's where they live.
Most definitely. 219-845-1100 is the number if you'd like to call in, weigh in on this race. Now, when you talk about 12, of course, we have Mara Candelaria Reardon, and Mara is unopposed on the Democratic side. Is that correct?
No, Pam Ains.
So why? Oh, there it is. Pam Ains. Okay, from Munster.
Yeah, and she's a progressive.
Okay. So
that's got a little heated. I've seen some battles on Facebook, like the rap, a rap battle. But over the past few days, I've seen some battles on Facebook. Like you said this, this one's posting, one thing and the other's posting another. So it'll be interesting. I think that I'm not saying, trying to stay out of it. I think that Pam came in, and Mara's thing is I've lived in Munster all my life. I know the Munster community, but she also has, I think the area is a little bit of Highland and Griffith. Pam is a progressive. And she said she started looking at some things that Mara was doing and felt that Mara was profiting from some of the things that she was doing. But Mara is very embedded in the community. But I think Mara's saying, oh, Pam just moved to Munster and she's just, all of a sudden this Tom McDermott type of thing. She just moved to Munster. She didn't just move to Munster. She's been in Munster for 13 years. So that's not really fair to say that. And so what if they did just move? Hillary Clinton just moved to New York and became a great senator in New York. I was there during the time.
Exactly.
So that to me that doesn't mean anything. But again, I do think this progressive mentality, and Pam's got that. Whoever wins, I don't want whoever loses to be. The one thing I said to Weezer when I was at Peggy Katona's
and we're talking about the chairman of the Democratic Party for Lake County.
I don't want that person, whether it be Mara wouldn't drop out, but if it's Pam, if she loses, I don't want her to be discarded in the Democratic Party. We need to keep those people active and get them engaged,
totally engaged,
because they have brought something. Mara is doing a lot of fundraising and a lot of getting out to vote because she's being challenged. I don't like to see two women being challenged together, but it's, again, where it is. Just
well,
like
you know what?
Miller.
When Mara first ran, she was being challenged by another woman as well. And then there was a time when she lost to Bill Fine.
Yeah.
And so she was able to get her seat back. And, of course, during that time, prior to her losing it to Bill Fine, her district was totally redrawn.
Right.
So the parts of East Chicago she ended up losing.
Right.
So it'll be really interesting to see the outcome on this race. We have two women who are strong fighters,
Right.
and we know, they'll do a good job. Know Mara for a number of years, and so we'll see
It'll
what
be
happens with that.
now
But we
with-
got to take a quick
okay,
break,
good.
and of course Ryan is standing here waiting. So we'll take this break, and then we'll continue back with election coverage central
Perfect.
here on WJOB AM 1230 on your radio dial.
You do have a choice for a new beginning. Vote Wally DeRose for Lake County Sheriff. He has an outstanding record as police commander, federal agent, and Army veteran. Integrity, honor, and a lifetime of service in Lake County. Paid for by the committee to elect Wally DeRose.
I'm Peter Kadick for North Township Board. Vote for strong experience. Endorsed by Mayor McDermott, the Northwest Indiana Building Trades Council and unions, and numerous precinct organizations. The best is yet to come. Paid for by Kadick for North Township Board Committee.
State Senator Frank Mervan stands committed to working men and women and is endorsed by Indiana State Teachers Association and American Federation of Teachers, United Steelworkers District 7, Indiana AFL-CIO, IBEW Electrical Workers, Indiana Building Trades Union, Indiana Firefighters, Teamster Local 142, Northwestern Indiana Building and Construction Trades Council, Democratic Precinct Organizations of Hammond, Highland, Munster, Cherville, Dyer. Please vote for State Senator Frank Mervan. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Mervan Jr., State Senator.
Hello, my name is Patrick O'Rourke. On behalf of the Hammond Teachers Federation, I am proud to support Mara Candelier Reardon for 12th District State Representative. She is a proven fighter for teachers and students in Northwest Indiana. On May 8th, please join me in casting your vote for Mara Candelier Reardon for State Representative District 12.
Paid for by citizens for Mara Candelaria Reardon.
Hi, Economics Dr. Jess Ortiz wants your vote. We continue to have more abandoned houses than homeless. This can happen to anyone, including children. It is a waste of resources that lowers property value. I, Ortiz, pledge to resolve this ethical, legal, and economic mandate through improved policy without additional taxes. God willing, leave no homeless behind. Vote.
Paid for by committee to elect Dr. Jesus Lewis Ortiz, North Township Advisory Board. From the Strachan Van Til Studios, your local Strachan Van Til has some great products on sale this week. Here's a few items you might want to add to your shopping list. Certified Angus Beef Boneless New York Strip Steak, $6.99 a pound. California Strawberries, 16-ounce package. Nature Ripe Blueberries, 1 pint. Buy one, get one free. Pepsi Mountain Dew Dr. Pepper, 12-ounce, 24 packs. Select varieties, $4.99 each when you buy 2. Limit 1 offer. Strachan Van Til, proud to be Indiana-made and dedicated to being Indiana's grocery store.
This is Dave Gazinski from Pacro Brewing, and you're listening to WJOB at 12:30 a.m. and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana.
Do you have a family history of heart disease or diabetes? St. Catherine Hospital Cardiovascular Prevention Center providers are offering free assessments to help determine your risk for heart disease and other related medical conditions. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 11:30 a.m., you can stop by the center at 7217 Indianapolis Boulevard in Hammond for assessments like an ABI leg circulation test, blood pressure, body mass index, random glucose assessment, and more. You must be 18 or older, and walk-ins are welcome. You have only one body. Let St. Catherine Hospital of Community Healthcare System help you take care of it. You can also call 219-392-7CVP to book an appointment today.
Is Indiana better off than it was 40 years ago? I'm Father Mark Kurowski, a Democrat, running for state senate. It's time for a new direction in Indiana. It's time for a state senator who fights for regular Hoosiers, fully funded and safe schools, for union labor, for roads and bridges, for a foster care system that works. We have the money in the rainy day fund, and it's pouring down. If you think it's time for a state senator who will fight for you, then vote Mark Kurowski for state senate on May 8th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Kurowski.
This is Christina Engel, and you're listening to WJOB AM 1230 and FM 104.7 in Hammond, Indiana.
She's scared, Mara.
And welcome back, WJOB AM 1230 on your radio dial. I'm Verly Suggs. I'm filling in for Jed this morning. In the region is not today. That's right, folks, because this is Women in the Region Talking Politics. And I am joined by Roxanne Paulson and Michelle Quinn from the Post-Tribune and Jackie Harris from the 411. Good morning, ladies.
What I want to know, good morning.
How on earth did Jed get this off? Is it just because he's the boss, or
Because he doesn't care about elections. He doesn't care about elections and election coverage and stuff. So
okay.
he went to a conference in New York. He's like, Burley, he says, I need you to fill in for me. I said, well, Jim, that's election day. He's like, he doesn't care.
Oh, well.
And
all
this
right
is
then.
what I love. I love elections. And I love talking about politics and the candidates and all these things that I think are very important. Your leadership in your communities is very important to your community.
Really
Indeed.
more important than national.
Most definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree.
So I am so happy to be joined by you ladies. And of course, Michelle, you just joined. So just introduce yourself to our listeners. Let them know a little bit about you.
Hi, everybody. I think most of you know who I am. Michelle Quinn, correspondent with the Post-Tribune.
Well, you
Controversial at time.
You can say a little bit more than that.
Well,
like,
no.
what do you
I mean,
usually write about.
I'm general. Okay, thank you, Roxanne. I am a general assignment reporter for the Post Tribune, so that means I cover a little bit of everything, and I will be out covering elections, mostly Westlake, Highland, Griffith, Munster today, and then this evening I'll be at County for the polls. So,
and I'm going to have you on speed dial, because I'll be doing election coverage this evening on WLT.
Okay, yeah.
From 6 on.
Yeah.
And so I will have you on speed dial to see what's going on out there.
Okay.
We're also joined by Jackie Harrison.
Hi,
Jackie
Jackie.
has never been here with me on WJOB. So, Jackie, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good morning, everybody. WJOB, a few of you.
Wait, hold on. Is your mic loud enough?
Can
there
you
we
tell
go.
that
There
I
we
do
go.
PR? I'm
Okay.
like, can you tell a little bit more about yourself?
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, Jackie.
All right, here's Jackie Harris from the 411 newspaper. Remember the 411? I used to distribute it all over Gary, parts of Hammond, East Chicago, but we're only online now, so you can still read the 411 at Gary411news.com. So thanks, Verly. Good morning, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Paul, Roxana, it's good to hear you. You're sounding good as I was driving in. And so I know now that the Michelle is here, this is going to be, we're going to have some news and some callers.
Yeah, this is fun. 845-1100. This is a first here at WJOB. 4 women covering an election in the morning of Election Day, May 8th, 2018. Write it down. It'll be in history, books for the region.
We'll see if Jed makes this mistake again.
So, Michelle and Jackie, before you got here, we were going down the election, and of course, we got through state representatives, U.S. races, and basically just to carry down to some of our county races. We talked about the Lamara, Candelaria race, and Pamela Ernest. Now we're down to Vernon G. Smith. He's State Representative District 14, unopposed. Chris Chung, District 15. That's normally a Republican district. He's a Democrat running in that position. And then Lisa Beck. She's a newcomer to the scene when it comes to politics. She's running for District 19. In the fall, she will meet Julie Altoff.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Lake County Prosecutor Bernard Carter, unopposed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know how that continues to keep happening, but all right.
I didn't expect it to happen this time. I thought there was actually going to be some opposition out there.
I just want to say one thing about Chris Chung. Again, I'm not pushing the progressive agenda, but he's
a progressive, yes. So
but
go
I
ahead.
think it's interesting. You've got Pam Ains, you've got Chris Chung. There are progressives moving in. Not to mention, you're going to have more and more especially in Munster, St. John, Dyer, you've got the Illinois people starting to realize, oh, taxes are cheaper here in Indiana, and they're starting to move in. Things are going to start changing.
So what is this about the progressive movement here in Northwest Indiana? Tell the listeners what these progressives have in store for them.
They're the Bernie people, some of them, I think, which they're a little militant for me. But depends on what. Some things I am militant about.
Sure.
If it's convenient for me. I should say. That's with all of them.
So do you mean they're asking they're going to bring in Ivy Tech colleges all over and free colleges?
Well, That's not their biggest thing. Their biggest thing is guns.
Yes.
Guns are a big thing. They don't want the gun shows, no guns. The gun shows in Crown Point, they want that abolished. They would want things like, help me out, Michelle.
Well, they did the immigration stuff. I was out with them, a bunch of them, a couple weeks ago.
Right. No, they don't want the immigrants like
what happened in Highland.
Airport.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
and what happened in Highland. They're running
okay.
over there. I think gun is their number one right now. They all have their own causes.
Yes.
But it's like the one thing with progressive, it's all or nothing. And they're going to have to learn to compromise a little bit. And then, but yes, free college, is that such a bad thing if it's a community college or anything? I don't think that is bad. Medicare for all. I
I'm
would
a fan.
love that. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan. I lived in another country. It's basically, it's not free. You still pay, but everybody pays, which is basically what Affordable Care Act was.
Right.
But I think it's more looking at that and changing the status quo.
Okay.
Which will be very interesting. And I mean, Dyer, as I recall, kind of, flips back and forth between, one time it's heavily Dem, next time it's heavily GOP. That'll be progressives in Munster. I'd like to see how that works out.
I'm not saying they're changing, but I
Right.
think the national election, it will make it
Sure.
change. I think.
I just love to see.
No, it'd
people
be
engaged,
interesting.
regardless
Exactly.
to whether they are progressives, liberals, conservatives, moderates, whatever. I just want people to be engaged.
I do too, but I don't want too
You don't
many
want conservatives, all right?
Right.
Well, see, there's some goods and some bads and everything.
Well,
so,
they can be, but not uber conservative.
Right. I don't like.
Women's
We're
rights
not talking about definitely not the alt right. No alt right at all.
Right.
No
Right,
support for
exactly.
that movement at all. But let's get down to the city, the circuit court clerk position. Now that is a vacated position. Mike Brown has held that position for
Right.
2 terms.
Yep.
He's coming to an end. And so you have 3 people running for that. That's Andy Silvestrowitz, Lorenzo Arredondo, Josefina Malganas. So any thoughts on that race?
Well, okay, since I'm over here to the left, popularity contest. As
Right.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first priority for most of the voters, and that name is Arredondo.
Yes. I would agree.
He was long time circuit court judge. A strong history in East Chicago. The Arredondo family, immigrant parents came in as immigrants from Mexico, and every last one of those children has been very responsible citizens. Held offices, have educations, just really been very progressive.
Yep. So
we
I would say Arredondo, and Silvestrowitz, he tends to run for. I don't think is there an office he hasn't run for.
Well,
I mean,
run
he
for
was
quite a
he
few.
was Maryville councilman.
I was going to say he held the city council seat in Maryville.
Yep, and so now I just see him pop up all the time. So okay.
But of course, we know that's his right. But yes, we can probably say by popularity,
Mr.
what the
Arredondo
outcome might be.
Yep.
Now, when we get to the county auditor,
Do we know anything about Josefina?
no,
I met her.
she ran before.
I met her. She works, I can't remember where, but she was very nice. She seemed very buttoned up, but didn't offer a lot, in my opinion. I'll be organized or whatever, and, the typical bringing to the table. I don't know what you can say when you're offering for that position. So, unfortunately, I think if she was there, she probably would have done a good job, because her background, I can't remember it, so she wasn't obviously that memorable. But
Okay.
well, I don't mean it.
No,
as
fair.
A negative.
No, it's true.
But
So when we talk about women's rights, and we've named a lot of women who are running on this ballot, and there are more to come, especially when we get to the sheriff's race. Does a candidate being a woman, make a difference to you when you go to if it's a choice between a man and a woman, regardless to their backgrounds and their skill set, do you vote based on their gender?
No, not me. I will listen more to what the woman has to say, but I don't necessarily, go into the booth. Oh, she's a woman, because that would say that. Oh, well, you don't take other things into consideration. But I do want to hear what she has to say first. So.
Yeah.
So she goes to the front of the line when it comes to listening, but not necessarily gets your vote.
Exactly.
And I want to like the woman more.
Right.
I might research the woman first and hope that I will like that person.
Right.
Jackie?
In a way, I'm kind of biased. I think that I have a preference for women. Because she's a woman, because this candidate is a woman, we have someone who's is probably, I think, more aggressive because she's out there in the race. Because you don't find a shrinking violet getting in a political contest. And then if this woman has some kind of charisma, usually you like a candidate because they say something. There's something about them because they hit you in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how most candidates win. There's something about them that appeals to the voters. And so if it's whether that woman has some backing behind her, that means that she's got other people working for her. When you see something like that, and they have a platform, not really a platform, but has something that appeals to me, and it's a woman,
Okay. So women gets a little weighted. Her score gets a little weighted. Okay. Sure. From Jackie. Okay. So now we go into the county auditor. That's Carl Witherspoon, known as the Spoon. That's his nickname. He's running against John Patalis, longtime politician.
Popularity contest, Patalis.
Patalis. Okay. Popularity. He was with Maryville.
Yep.
For a long time. Then he and Peggy Katona have sort of done the switch office, and now he's the auditor and continuing for another term of that. Okay.
So who knows Carl? Who knows Carl?
I sat in a focus group with Carl at IU once regarding police safety in Gary and response. And interesting young man. He's worked in school corporations. I think he had a misdemeanor because he took some computers out of a school to have them upgraded, and he wasn't allowed to do that. So that has been brought up in regard to him by John Patalis, okay. So, but I think we have some candidates who are running with misdemeanors as well. We talked about the coal baron down there.
Yeah,
exactly. Right? So, okay, so let's go to the county treasurer's office. And this is very interesting because you have county treasurer Peggy Katona, who is being challenged by Greta Hurd. Now, if you're not familiar with this, Greta Hurd was a longtime employee of the treasurer's office. She was actually fired by Peggy Katona, courtesy of Mr. Dabberton. Came in and gave her her pink slip. She was escorted, outside the door.
Yes, I heard.
Sure.
So here's Greta. She goes to file to run for her precinct race, about to leave the building, and says, you know what? I'm going to challenge my former boss. So she goes right back in and files to run for treasurer. And so this is an interesting race.
It is interesting. I still think Peggy will win, but I think that might be a bigger fight than it might have been if there wasn't such intrigue around it.
And one thing about this, I'm glad that Greta used this kind of what do you call revolt against her former boss to enter this race, and she should probably, I think, enter more races.
Sure,
Greta should. I like Greta Hurd.
You do.
I think that in Gary, Greta is going to do very well. A lot of people in Gary like Greta.
Okay,
there are people mumblings in other communities as well in regard to Greta, and there was a long expose in the newspaper about some of the things that Greta had been accused of doing while she was in office. She was never charged or found guilty of doing anything. But there are a lot of people in the community who feel that Greta has done a lot to help them and to support them with issues.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a cakewalk for Peggy. It will be very hard for Greta to get through some of these other communities that Peggy has a stronghold in, from
Right.
her mother's past history in
Right.
politics to her father's history in politics. But Greta, I believe, is going to do well in Gary.
Okay.
You are very optimistic then.
I think she's going to do well in Gary.
Yeah, you're right. I think she has the Gary, that audience. But
Okay.
outside of Gary, Hammond, East Chicago.
Yeah,
She's an unknown.
Yep.
But like you said, Jackie, she's not a streaking violet. To go out and say, you know what, that's balls.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like, I'll get my revenge one way or
and
another.
they're going to say bad.
There you go.
Here's what they're going to say. But what was interesting in the, I was going to say New York Times, but the Hammond Times, I keep calling it the Northwest Indiana
right.
Times, is I noticed this. She said something about nepotism in the paper.
Yes.
Peggy Katona immediately said, my mother was grandfathered in to this office and has that job.
Mm-hmm.
Never did Greta talk about her mother. Peggy immediately went into defensive mode about her mother.
Okay.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I don't know if it was edited, the article was edited, so that we didn't see the whole exchange
Sure.
of comment,
Sure.
but Peggy immediately got defensive. 2 comments about that. She immediately assumed, in PR, don't assume
Right.
what they're saying, ignore it.
Right.
And then number 2, I also look, why wouldn't I hire my friends or my relatives? You know, in some ways, I mean, relatives. There's
I don't know about that.
well,
I mean, we have one person who's running who we're going to come down to in the line who probably has her whole family reunion can be held at the Lake County government complex and no one would have to leave the building.
Right.
So, you know what?
I mean,
But,
yeah.
let's take,
Okay.
We have Dr. Vanessa McLeod on the line. So let's go to Dr. McLeod. Good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning, Verly. I'm glad to hear you on this morning. And to your guest on the show, thank you for being there. Verly, do you all think that there has been an increase in the number of young people who have joined in and began their candidacy to run? Can you speak on you talked about the gender, the women. I'm glad to see more women running, but can you, Verly, maybe do a scope of the younger generation that you've seen join the race?
Yes, most definitely. Appreciate your call,
Thank you.
Vanessa.
Thank you.
And that's Dr. Vanessa McLeod, the CEO of Urban League of Northwest Indiana.
Awesome. Well, definitely Chung's very young.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Jessica Rinslow.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Jeremy Yancey is also young.
Melissa Borum.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There are quite a few young people
And what do you
who are in there.
consider young?
I'm going to say 45 and under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Chung is super young, I think.
Yeah.
I
How
think
old
he's.
are we thinking?
Whoops. Do I want to? Would it be unfair in his 20s? That was not a race that I covered, so I don't know what his age is, but I know he's
young. Yeah.
Yeah, he's super.
And
I
how
would
old
say
is-
close to 30,
and
maybe.
Lisa Beck seems like she would probably be maybe 45.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say she's in her 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any ones
Well, there are some
No.
when we can look at Caldwell. He's running in the Township Advisory Board.
Mhm.
There are a few people who are running for that
But I
race who
definitely
are a
think
little
so.
younger. But let's take a break, and we'll continue back with election coverage here on WJOB, AM 1230, Hammond, Indiana.
Is Indiana better off than it was 40 years ago? I'm Father Mark Kurowski, a Democrat, running for state senate. It's time for a new direction in Indiana. It's time for a state senator who fights for regular Hoosiers, fully funded and safe schools, for union labor, for roads and bridges, for a foster care system that works. We have the money in the rainy day fund, and it's pouring down. If you think it's time for a state senator who will fight for you, then vote Mark Kurowski for state senate on May 8th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Kurowski.
Richard Ligon, a retired military colonel and retired federal law enforcer, is running for Lake County Sheriff. With Richard Ligon as sheriff, when Lake County police arrive at any crime scene, everyone will know that the professionals have arrived and there's no escape. It's time for Lake County to be known as a great region all across this nation, and together, casting our vote for Richard Ligon, it happens. If you want your families to have the best police protection, attract the best jobs, the best schools, lowered crime and increased conviction rates for criminals because it's done right, you need the right sheriff, Richard Ligon, a proven leader. The choice is quite clear. Vote Richard Ligon, the choice for this time. He'll keep Lake County families safe.
Hi, I'm Richard Ligon, a retired military colonel and a highly trained federal law enforcement officer. I am a candidate for Lake County Sheriff, and I want your vote on May the 8th. I approve this message.
This ad is paid for by the committee to elect Richard Ligon.
Eduardo's Natural Pizza in Munster has built a reputation for serving the finest Chicago-style stuffed pizza, loaded with fresh and natural ingredients. Not interested in stuffed pizza? Eduardo's has the best thin crust pizza, appetizers, salads, pastas, and more. Pick up a half-baked pizza from Eduardo's to take home and bake at your convenience. It's the perfect solution for those hectic nights. Eduardo's is located at 7920 Calumet Avenue in Munster. Dine in or carry out by calling 836-2010.
At Corellis Roofing, we recognize that our employees are our biggest asset.
I don't know if I picked roofing or roofing kind of, fell on me. My name is Phil Youngie. I am a project manager here at Corellis Roofing. I came in here as a roofer. Here I am 20 years later, managing million-dollar projects. If you're willing to put hard work in, willing to do your time, the opportunities are wide open here at Corellis Roofing.
If you're willing to work hard, we have a place for you at Corellis Roofing.
With the weather finally starting to warm up, that also means ants and other bugs are coming. Rapid Pest Solutions is local and family-owned and does complete residential and commercial pest control solutions. Get rid of those pesky mosquitoes and take your yard back this summer. We have custom programs to address your specific needs. Check out our website at rapidpestsolutions.com. Call Rapid Pest Solutions at 219-922-2000 and mention you heard us on WJOB. You'll receive 25% off your first visit. Got ants? Get Rapid.
And welcome back, WJOB AM 1230 on your radio dial, 104.7 on the FM dial. It's JED in the region. No, folks, it's not. It's ladies in the region talking politics. We're covering the election. Myself, Burley Suggs.
Roxanne Paulson.
Michelle Quinn.
Jackie Harris.
All right. We have three other opinionated women. They're used to me, but now they get a taste of other women. Of course, Michelle co-hosts with me from time to time, and it's great to always have her back.
Appreciate it.
We're going to save the sheriff's race to last because, of course, that is the #1 race that's taking place in Lake County. And we're going to move on down the road a little bit and talk about the Calumet Township race, because that is a pretty contentious race. And I know, Jackie, a lot of your beat has been Gary. And so we have the current Calumet Township trustee, Kimberly Robinson, being challenged by Gary Councilwoman Levita Sparks Wade.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that race?
Now, I had thought maybe you would hit the
we're going to do the assessors
first.
The commissioner's race?
With one of the cohorts, or one of the caustic.
Okay. Well, we can go. We can step back a little if that's what you want to do.
Situations.
All right. So that caustic race that you're talking about is for our Lake County Commissioner, District 1. You have Kyle Allen, who is the incumbent. He has he was actually appointed into that position through the precinct organization. His cousin Roosevelt passed away. So now he's being challenged by Jamal Washington, who is a current county councilman and has a lot of baggage.
True.
That's putting it
lightly.
Did I put it lightly? Well, okay.
and what we see in that race is two candidates. One who was on the rise at one time. At a time was on the rise.
And when you say on the rise, you're talking about Jamal.
Jamal Washington. And he, because Burley, you mentioned the Calumet Township race, we had two bullets who were working together to form a cannon. That was Jamal Washington and Levita Sparks Wade, and that was maybe a year ago.
The real deal in the region.
Yeah, the real deal in the region. That they were the bombshells, but today, a year later, I think their coalition, they are both dragging each other down. I think that
interesting that you would say that.
Interesting way to put it.
I'm thinking that Miss Sparks Wade had some traction but her association with Mr.
Washington.
Mr. Washington is
toxic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the word.
All right, Michelle?
She took the words right out of my mouth.
Wow.
I do not understand how a woman would, knowing what the charges are against Mr. Washington, and, you know, the first charge was bad enough. Then he goes and does it again in December. You know, he may be in violation of his parole. We don't know that, or I haven't heard if he is actually in violation. But, you know, he's got all this stuff on him. Why would a woman associate herself with someone who has been, you know, charged with violence against a woman?
Right.
And I understand that, you know, Jamal's wife has been stumping for him. I hear that she's been on the radio with him.
Right.
I don't.
Commercials on his behalf.
I don't. That is my thought. I don't know why you would do it. I don't know why you would hook yourself up with that, but okay.
Roxanne, any thought on this, Riz?
No, I agree with Michelle. I mean, but we're but I guess we're strong women. So like, why would you align yourself with that?
I would consider Levita to be a strong woman.
Yes, I remember when she was running for mayor. I believe it was 2011.
Right,
and she was awesome.
running as independent, basically.
Yeah.
I guess, did she think there was going to be a chance of a comeback?
You know, and Jamal maybe might have had, you know.
There was a slip. There was like this much of a chance at one point. And maybe she thought and get onto the bandwagon, but there's so many other people.
All right, so here's the thing. Sometimes it's about friendships. Do you have a friend that, regardless of what they've done, that you're going to be their number one chief supporter and spokesperson for? Because this is what it boils down to when you ask Levita about this, is that they believe in the same thing. They fight the same fights, but she's not going to desert her friend. But despite the fact that her friend might be the anchor around her neck.
Well, God bless her if she wants to do that, but, you know, it's still an anchor around your neck.
But if she wants a career in politics, no.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I mean, what has he said? You know, and again it's about strong women. You know, abuse happens to all women,
right?
And I think we understand that. We didn't mean to, you know, imply that, you know, some women are more immune to it than others. But I don't know. If I had someone or a friend who was accused of that, I don't know what justification you can give me.
I think you show true friendship when you're able to advise your friends about what they're doing, whether it's good or bad, whether it's right or wrong. That's the sign of true friendship.
Yeah.
And to say Jamal, you know, Jamal, this is something you have to get past. Maybe, you know, maybe it's time to consider perhaps not running for office. Get your life together. Come back as a reformed man, apologetic for what you've done, and then give it a run.
Right.
And that might just happen because we know these alliances are fluid, right?
Indeed.
And just like voter sentiments are fluid, aren't they?
Sure.
Yes.
Can't they do just like Burley said? Be remorseful, come back next time, and say.
Has Jamal ever been remorseful? Because I don't think I've seen remorse.
I really have not seen remorse. The interesting thing about his wife stumping for him, well, you know, I'm sure her check is dependent on his check. So he needs a job.
Yeah.
And if she has that, and we know also with battered women that there are a lot of times that they will go right back and, you know, take that same person, that batterer back. We just have something going on in New York with the attorney general there who's been accused of battering women that he dated.
And now he just resigned because of violence. They didn't say domestic violence. I didn't read it this morning.
Well, he dated these women. He was very aggressive with them and violent toward them. But the thing is, he resigned his position. He hasn't been charged with anything. He resigned.
Why does he resign? And Rob Porter, we had to like shove him out the door. Can I ask that question?
Well,
I know we're getting off on a tangent, but why do the Democrats resign properly, and then the other ones you have to fight to get them out of office?
Well, right. But you know, we do have a caller, and we're going to take this caller because she's unopposed in this race, and we just spoke about her a little earlier. And it's Carolyn Jackson. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, everyone. How are
morning.
you?
Good morning, Carolyn.
Good
It's good to
morning.
hear you.
How's it going out there? Are you at the polls?
No, I did leave the polls a little while ago, and I did vote, of course, for myself.
So you've won. Congratulations.
Yay!
Thank you so very much. I guess it just hasn't totally sunk in yet, you know.
Sure.
You know,
This has got to be a surreal day.
Yes, exactly. It is. It's a beautiful day. I woke up really early this morning and just kind of meditated and thought about things that I would like to see happen, you know, for the Northwest Indiana, and just kind of prayed, you know, and just asked God for His blessings and His mercy.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you calling in. Of course, we're doing all women covering the election this morning. And anything you want to add to the mix?
No. I just would like for everybody to go and vote. The voter turnout here in Northwest Indiana and Lake County has just been extremely low. And I just would like for people to know how important it is to let your voice be heard.
Yeah.
We really have got to work together so that we can continue to make changes and make things happen. And without those votes, without us turning our state blue, it's going to be very difficult. So I just want to encourage
Or even just
everybody
new
to
blood,
make-
almost. I mean,
Exactly.
Well, it's people like you, Carolyn, that can probably invigorate voters. So keep your voice out there, and especially come November.
Definitely.
So, have you heard any rushings in the woods?
No, Jackie.
Anything out there?
I haven't heard anything, Jackie. The only thing that I hear repeatedly every time I go somewhere is, how did you scare everybody away? Or how did you scare everybody
well,
I think we hit on that this morning.
if I'm not mistaken, though, Carolyn, you're about to be challenged in November. Am I correct?
So Michelle already has that rumbling going on.
Yeah, Donna Dunn, I believe, is running.
Oh,
so
okay.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle.
Okay.
Donna Dunn, running as an independent.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So see, you got it here first on WJOB in the morning.
Yes, I did.
An exclusive.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, Carolyn.
Thank you, and you all have a great day.
Yeah, good luck.
You too. So we're going to try and quickly do these other races because of the fact that, you know, we have the township assessors race, and that's going to be a very contentious race. It is very vocal. Jim Nowacki and current assessor Jackie Collins. Then going down, of course, we talked the trustees race, Levita Sparks Wade, Kimberly Robinson. When you get to the township board for the city of Gary, which encompasses Griffith and Calumet Township, it's just a free-for-all. You pick 3, and you got, 17 to pick from, right?
So now, is there anyone from Griffith or Calumet Township?
There's one person from Griffith, Joan McCluskey, I believe.
Okay.
And I was kind of surprised by that here's the Calumet Township Board. Why is this the first time that I've ever noticed a Griffith person running?
Mm-hmm. Or
When
a long time.
Yeah. I'm just
8 years more.
Wow.
Right. So just not be exclusive and not include the North Township. You have, of course, the township trustee, Frank Mervan, and okay. We got a message that Mad Mac is voting Democrat for Carolyn Jackson. Was for McCluskey. Oh, okay.
Is he aware that, so he's voting Democrat the whole time? Oh, okay.
All
Okay.
right. So, because once he declares, he can still switch.
Yeah,
in November.
no one cares. But
Yeah,
anyway.
he can
Oops.
switch in November, and it wouldn't make a difference. So, yeah, he can go ahead and vote,
I
declare
don't
as a
care.
Democrat, and switch it back in.
He's
November.
a grown adult that calls himself Mad Max still, so.
Okay.
I almost spit out my coffee.
Oh, too funny. So let's get real quick. Township board members for North Township. You have Lisa Salinas Matanovich, Richard Novak, Phil King, Eduardo Banda, Katrina Alexander, Peter Kadick, Giovanna Ivatic, Al Weems Jr., John Southsider, and Jesus Luis Ortiz.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a free fall on that one. A couple of them. You have one spot that is open that the individual is not running for re-election in that case, but all positions are open basically because when they go to the polls, you don't know who they're going to vote for.
Right.
We're going to get to the sheriff's race, but first we're going to take this quick call from Councilwoman Gilda Orange from the city of East Chicago. Good morning, Gilda.
Hi, Burley. I'm glad to hear you on, and with the three powerful ladies, I'm very
Thank
glad
you.
to hear your show this morning.
Thank you.
I just want to kind of take you off topic. I know that everybody's talking about the races, but I wanted to talk about something that is really important for the summer, and that's keeping our kids safe.
Yes.
At the Boys and Girls Club, Madeline Revere, who is the director, finds herself each year of not having enough money to help kids during the summer, and the ones that don't have money to do the activities. And so she has to leave some kids behind because they don't have the money to go on field trips and the activities that they have. And she does the best she can. She takes money out of her pocket, and she's another strong and powerful woman. So what she did is she put together a basketball challenge. And the basketball challenge, if you have to go on the three-point line, and if you make it, you pay $10, and if you don't make it, you pay $20. And this is a fundraiser for her to May 23rd. And everybody has started to take the challenge. Mayor Copeland took the challenge yesterday. My daughter-in-law, Vanessa Orange, sits on the school board. She took the challenge. She made hers. Mayor Copeland did not. So they have challenged me in going over
Well,
today to do the challenge. And it's at the Boys and Girls Club on 138th
Okay.
and Theodore. And today I am challenging you, Burley, to the basketball challenge along with Frank Burvan. And so I'm challenging you two for that challenge, and I'm hoping that she raises enough money to help those kids during the summer.
Well, let me ask you this, Gilda. How much does it normally cost to sponsor a child for these activities?
I'm not quite sure, but I'm not quite sure, but I think they take like 12 field trips a year. During the summer.
Okay,
And
so here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the basketball challenge because unlike the Me Too movement, I actually did the Me movement, and I had some surgery for me, so I can't do a basketball challenge. But I'm going to actually sponsor one child for their field trips for the year.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Shirley. But I am challenging my boss, Frank Mervan, because I know he's a basketball player, and they say very aggressive. I've never seen him on the court. And I'm hoping that he hears this, and he goes to the Boys and Girls Club and does that challenge. And I'm also going to challenge Ernie Signar, who used to be a basketball player.
That's right. He played in Europe.
He still got it.
In Paris, in fact, right? He played in France.
Yes, he did. So thanks, Burley, for giving me this time. Only thing I want to say about the election is I hope that people do get out and vote. Because you can't complain if you don't get out and vote.
Yeah.
And one other thing, Gilda, while we have you on the line, because I know, you had a tragedy in East Chicago, and your son, Justin, is a detective on this case regarding the tragic shooting death of an 11-year-old. And so, of course, the Boys and Girls Club is very instrumental in keeping kids off the streets and providing a safe environment, and we definitely want to not forget what's going on in East Chicago and send our condolences.
And crime has gone down, but there's always instances with crime, and when it comes to kids, that is very hard. And 11-year-olds to get shot, and I was telling my sister the other day, I don't know where that came from. People just figure I can just pick up a gun and kill somebody. I don't understand it. And I'm saddened for both families because it's a loss on both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we raise enough money to keep the kids off the street and keep the kids safe. So my challenge goes on. I'm on my way to do my challenge in a few minutes, and hopefully I make it. But if I don't, I'm still going to pay the $20.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gilda.
Take care.
That, Councilwoman
Good to talk
Orange.
to you.
Appreciate hearing from her. And did hear from school board member Jesse Gomez. He thought that I forgot to mention that Katrina Alexander, and maybe I did, from the Township Board, she's running for that position as well. So now, we only have 10 minutes left in the show. Coming up at 8 o'clock, they will have a candidate who's running, another young candidate who's running from the city of Gary. She's running for one of our state, our county council positions, and her name is Jackie White. So she'll be coming up next. And, of course, I didn't mention real quickly, we talked about some of the young people running, but in Hammond, you have David Ham and Darryl McCory running for District 1. For District 2, you have Jeremy Yancey, Elsie Franklin, Clarice Lay, and Dorothy Spires. In District 3, that's the seat that's going to be vacated by Jamal Washington. You have Leonard White, Rania Scott, Jackie White, Charlie Brown, and Melissa Borum. So those are the candidates running in that race.
Oh, boy.
But let's get to the sheriff's race, because that, to me, is the #1 race.
And I don't have the flyer.
Okay. So we know, if you've been in Lake County politics, you know that usually the week before, the day before, the night before, those letters start arriving on your doorstep. Somehow they make it, regardless through how does the U.S. mail get there, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, they make it. Somehow these letters make it as well.
Are they sent first class usually? Or do
I think they usually are sent sometimes by individual people, sometimes by now Facebook you have it.
Right.
And so those letters have arrived on doorsteps. Some of them bashing the current sheriff, bashing some of the candidates, giving you a list of people and some of their background and things you should be made aware of that you might not already know.
Okay, so
I got one.
That's right. Tell us, or can you tell?
Oh, yeah.
Can you say it?
Yeah,
Can you
I tried to
speak
get it.
Should we say the candidates' names first, or should we?
Yeah,
go?
let's say the candidates.
All right, so let's just real quick, who's running for Lake County Sheriff? You have, and I'm just going down the way they are on the ballot. So you have Betty Dominguez, Oscar Martinez, Nate Hall, Richard Ligon, David Dowling, Wally M. DeRose, Michael Brown, Maria Trekovich. Did I say everyone? Did I say Richard Ligon?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I had to say it again. Sorry. But I make sure, did I miss anybody?
Yeah, I think you said it.
Yeah.
Mad Mac is on the phone.
All right, so should we take this call from
No.
Mad Mac? No.
Oh, I can't believe
but then
he's
But then
calling.
he'll say we're discriminating because
Yes,
we're all
exactly.
women. So we got to take Mad Mac's call. So we're going to go ahead. Good morning, Mad Mac. You're on the air.
Hi, Verly. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So, hey, Verly, you know when G-Lo tells that funny joke, he says, hey, like a black guy, a Mexican, two white guys, whatever, walk into a bar, what do you call it? You call it the sheriff's race?
Yeah, I never found that joke to be funny, but go ahead.
I didn't think it was that funny. It sounded kind of stupid, but that's your co-host, though. But so how's this one, though? A developer, a roofer, and two convicts walk into a bar. What do you call that?
A developer, a roofer, and two convicts. Which race would that be?
Well, who said it was a race?
Uh-oh.
What you call that is WJOB's political review show that's going to be on tonight.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, they're bringing in, they're going to have a special guest, convicted felon Van Til. He's coming by. Convicted felon Pastrick from the Coffee Creek money laundering operation. They're trying to get Robert Battle to do a, what do you call that?
A remote?
Yeah, do a little remote interview from prison, but you know
he might be on
blood
lockdown.
on his hands from the murder, and he might be a little tied up with what his little operation is.
Well, I actually heard Jim yesterday, and I don't know if George Van Til was confirmed. We know that Pastrick has been covering the elections with them for a number of years now, so that's been a norm. And of course,
I mean, that's how it goes. I mean,
yeah.
It seems like a lot of Democrats who sit in those seats in there end up at some point convicted or at least accused of a crime. So, I mean, it's par for the course.
Yeah, but I mean, once they serve their time, aren't they free to be citizens to do whatever they choose?
I agree.
No, apparently not. As a felon, I think Mr. Tom McDermott's made it crystal clear regarding guys like Lefty. He's got a felony conviction, and yet he can never run for office. He can't go vote. He can't.
Lefty can vote. Lefty can actually. He can vote.
He can't go visit a guy in prison. He can't own a firearm. So there must be some hitch there.
I bet Lefty's got a firearm.
There's
no way Lefty doesn't have a firearm.
I bet he doesn't.
You don't think he does?
No, but since you're talking about the sheriff's race, what do you girls think about when someone has 3 felony counts against them, 6 obstruction of justice charges, and yet they're still running for sheriff?
Who would that be?
That would be Oscar Martinez, who says every time the issue of 2 felony charges against his wife for stealing money out of a casino vault come up, and then at payroll padding, where he accumulated over $10,000 in overtime off the casinos. He goes, you know what? Not my fault. I had no idea about it. It was all my wife.
Well, that's what he said, and she's accepted the guilt. So, I mean, we'll have to see, but we got to let you go. Appreciate your call this morning.
All right, ladies.
Okay,
Good luck.
thank you. So we're going to talk about the sheriff race, and Roxanne, I think you were starting to tell you about a letter you received.
Yeah, I got a flyer that basically, I don't even remember exactly what the front said. It looked like it was, quotes from newspaper.
Was it neon paper?
Was it what?
Was it bright neon paper?
Neon paper.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a postcard.
So it came in the mail with a stamp? Okay.
No, not a stamp. There was money spent.
So it was sent through metered mail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, metered mail.
Okay.
In Oscar's green and
inside
yellow.
an envelope?
Nope. Nope. Not inside an envelope. Nope. It was like a campaign did it, like a postcard from What
was the disclaimer on the bottom? Who was it paid for by?
You know what? I didn't look at that.
Oh, see, that's important. Yeah, we need to know where it came from. It says the Dowling campaign? Oh, okay.
Whoa.
All right, that's where the money came from.
That's what they wrote, Dowling for sheriff. Okay. And it basically was that he filed for bankruptcy. I don't care.
Talking about
that the wife, her conviction that his wife did that. How could he manage a budget if he can't manage his own, finances? How could, about 4 different things. He did talk about, this is one thing that I would have a problem with.
I feel hurt. I didn't get one.
That he did hire his chief of staff or whatever the guy's name was without going through the proper channels. That I do have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
The other personal things, I don't care.
And are we talking about Emiliano, JR from East Chicago?
Yes.
City councilman?
That he didn't post that, and he said it was an emergency and he needed to hire this guy for his communications.
And JR needed a job because he was no longer
and he has,
the chief of staff for the mayor of East Chicago. So,
and, that kind of thing. Basically, that I do have a problem with. That is, I think, viable. But I just was like, whoa.
So how do you feel when you get this negative campaigning? Does it steer you to one candidate over the other? Or if you were supporting a candidate and you got some of that negative campaign material from him or about him, would that change the way you feel?
No.
Well, clearly,
look at Trump.
Well, it came right out of his mouth and it didn't change the way his supporters felt.
Yeah.
Michelle?
I don't know, because then if I was supporting, the question is if I was supporting someone and...
Either way, if you were supporting the candidate who the negative material was about, or you were supporting the candidate who sent it out, would it change your feelings about them?
Probably not the sending out, because campaigning is an ugly, nasty, horrible business. The candidate is always going to say plausible deniability. If something really heinous comes out, oh, I didn't know who did this. This people in my party. How can I control? So there's always plausible deniability.
That happened with the whole email Jackie Sutton thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about that website and some of the negative things that were coming out over it, and then also. Consider the overreach of the sheriffs investigating where it was, traced to.
So let's look at the votability. I'm looking at Mike Brown. He is a vote getter in Lake County. He has the name recognition.
Yep. I suspect that the sheriff's race, do I know what's going to happen? No, but I do not think it's a lock for Martinez.
No, I don't either.
And I think it's going to be uglier than anybody's anticipating.
Yes.
And Martinez spent way more money than everybody else.
Well, you saw his campaign finance reports. Some of the candidates filed their reports, and he was in the six-figure range.
He was the only one in the
But of course, you have to consider the fact he's already in office.
Right.
So when you have contractors and individuals who are going to support, they're usually going to go with the guy who's in office already.
Did he have any notable supporters on that list?
I didn't look down the list to see who they were. I just think I got the initial figures, and that was it.
My biggest issue with him is the whole privatization of this new warden that he hired.
The guy who's already being charged with the murder of an inmate.
Oh, fantastic. I had not heard
I didn't hear that. Was that this morning?
No.
Oh.
There was
my.
there was an inmate who died while in one of the prisons that he was the warden of, and so of course, they have a lawsuit going out.
Oh, good gravy.
He's not being charged with murder,
But it was under his
he's
watch.
right. But it was under his watch, so I guess I don't know if it's a civil case or not.
Okay.
Where they are suing.
Okay.
And he
Okay,
was the
that's
warden.
great vetting. No, I have a problem with that he was in the GEO system, and I heard
was he?
Martinez yesterday saying, well, every warden now has worked for a private, prison system and blah, blah, blah. He was defending it. And that's not, one, it's not true. And number two, it's him defending it. So he knows that he needs to defend it. And
Right.
it's going to eliminate jobs in Northwest Indiana eventually. I guarantee it. And out of 50 candidates, you couldn't find one that wasn't pro-privatization. It's, to me, it stinks. I don't like it. And I've heard from a lawyer friend who talked about that she's seen since Martinez has taken office that the jail has really doesn't look good. I mean,
God.
it's gone down.
How can it go down any worse
Well,
than
that
it
was
was?
it. And this
let's
is a criminal
take
lawyer.
a real quick phone call from Patrick because we're going to have to wrap it up, ladies. Patrick, you're on the air with us this morning.
Hey, Burley, how you doing? How's
Good.
everything?
Great. How are you doing?
Hey, I just want to make a comment. I received
Pat,
that,
hey, Pat, you're fading in and out. Speak up.
Okay, let me do this. How's this?
Sounds better.
Okay. I received Dowling's flyer in the mail yesterday.
Okay.
And I'm a paralegal. I like to do homework. So I like
Yes,
to
it's
see
my good buddy
what,
Pat from EC.
what the heck it was. And, I've been in politics for a good minute, and I realize it can be a dirty game. But when you're physically attacking somebody's spouse for actions, and the article I read from the Times said Oscar Sheriff Martinez had no knowledge of what was going on. That's for me. That just went sour with me. I mean, I ran for offices, and never have I ever went after anybody's family, despite the fact that people have scouts in their closet. For me, my issue is if I'm running against a candidate, I'm going to go after that candidate and not touch the family members. And it just turned me off. And there are people in my neighborhood, in my precinct, that have Dowling signs. I let them, vote for Dowling, fine. But for me, that just turned me off. So I said, I'm going to go talk to these people. So it was a turnoff, major turnoff.
Okay.
And I like the way, they picked and choose lines out of that article. And they didn't. It's not about facts. It says, let's just make it look bad. But if you read the whole article in context, the wife took full responsibility, and it said Martinez had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, she took full responsibility. I was at a candidate forum, and she was in the audience, and when it was brought up on the panel, she said, "That was me," So.
Yeah. So when, like I said, when I see something, I'm not going to accept your plugger for a fact. I'm going to research it and see what it is. And I just didn't like the way Downing's people put that out. For my personal feelings about it, it was totally wrong, and it just turned me off towards it.
Well, we appreciate you weighing in this morning,
absolutely.
Pat.
Good
Definitely
point.
always
you take care, brother.
appreciate your opinion. You take care. We got to get together.
Now I lost my train of thought. Darn it. Go ahead.
All right, so
it'll come
you
back.
also received an audio. I know you can't repeat anything that was in that audio, but what did it make you? How did it make you feel to receive it?
Well, based on the nature of what I had, it just kind of reconfirms what I think about things. So that's all I can say about it.
Okay. Well, ladies, our time has really come quickly to an end, and so I'm going to give you a moment just to give some closing remarks as far as to our listeners about getting out to vote and, just quick thoughts.
Vote. Those who vote, know. Those who don't vote, don't know.
I would say that primaries are typically low. I don't see this one being any different because primaries in Lake County, I've been doing this now for, God, I don't even know, 15, 20 years or so. And why don't we prove them wrong this time? I don't think it's going to happen, but let's prove them wrong and get out and do it.
All right.
So
Yeah, I agree. Vote, and the change is starting now.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's been great doing election coverage. All-woman cast of
Future
opinions.
is female.
That's right.
That's right.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to have a candidate, Jackie White, and she'll be telling you why she feels she's the best person to fulfill the role in the Lake County Council. I'm out of here. I'm heading to my next gig doing election coverage all day at LRP. And then this evening, I'll be doing election coverage on WLTH radio at 6 p.m. But, of course, Kuziak and Reardon will be here to hold down the fort on WJOB for their traditional election night coverage. Thanks for tuning in.